Hello, and thank you for joining me for in-person, hybrid, or virtual, creating the right event, an update on hybrid events. If you watched my previous webinar on hybrid events, a few things have changed since then. I've learned a few best practices. I hope you find the content today relevant and fresh. If this is your first time joining me, welcome. I'm honored that you're here. I am Greg Quiroga, the founder of Stellar Fundraising Auctions. I've been a fundraising auction consultant and performer since 2004, a virtual gala consultant and performer by necessity since April of 2020. And all those years, I've conducted over 750 in-person events and over 70 virtual galas, all with an eye towards learning as much about the process as possible to help set the stage for success, as well as put on a good performance when it comes time to do the show. What we're going to cover today, we'll talk about the future of fundraising events, virtual, in-person, or hybrid. And the big question really is, which do you choose and why? The real focus is going to be on hybrid, and there's two types I want to look at today, self-production or professional production. And then we'll talk about some hybrid best practices. So virtual, in-person, or hybrid. This is the number one question for fundraising events right now, and the obvious big question facing every event going forward through the fall and into next spring. And the decision to stay virtual or go in person feels extremely regional right now. In Northern California, it really felt like we started moving away from 100% virtual events as soon as the governor announced the state's reopening plan. Still have a couple of virtual events in the coming weeks because they weren't sure what things were going to look like as soon as the state reopened. But moving into the fall, nah. But Oregon, very different. Oregon events are still hesitant to commit to being in person anytime before September. I have a few out-of-state virtual events booked through September and October, but here in the Bay Area, the question really has become in-person or hybrid. And a lot of factors impact this decision. One of them is that it's just, if you can't get enough people in the room, whether that room is outdoors or indoors, then it's going to really impact it. There are restrictions on crowd size, and there might be a lack of enthusiasm for being back in person. Some of your crowd might not be ready, doesn't feel comfortable, or maybe they really, really liked virtual. One other issue that we're seeing with in-person events right now, or attempting to plan them, is that it's hard to find staff. You might not be able to find the venue, it might not be available, or they might not have the staff, the catering staff. Vendors are really having a hard time rehiring, as are a lot of our nonprofit clients. One reason to go hybrid might be is that virtual increase the reach of your organization, and you don't want to lose that virtual crowd. I've worked with one organization whose in-person gala usually has 150 people, but their virtual gala had 900 from all over the world. Or maybe some of your crowd really loved virtual, or any combination of the above. Whatever you choose to do, you need to make the decision that's going to work best for your staff, your crowd, and your event. And really, if your crowd is ready to be back in person and your staff isn't, you're going to be in a challenging position, going to have to work through that. Hopefully, you can find an alignment on all three that works for you. Well, let's talk about what is hybrid. And the simplest definition of a hybrid event is an event where there's an in-person event being simulcast to people watching via the internet. And you can see right here, a gentleman's playing a piano. There's a live in-person crowd, but you can also see the screens of what is being broadcast to people at home. If you're holding a hybrid event, there are some base level questions we need to ask right away. Number one is, will the at-home crowd be able to participate in the event? Will they be bidding in the live auction? And if they are bidding from home, how? Will they be participating in the fund the need? And again, how? And the real big question is, what will the at-home crowd see? Are they going to see a broadcast of your event as is? Are they going to get to see videos, the PowerPoint slides, all that sort of content? And how will the broadcast impact the timing of your event overall? Are you going to do a modified broadcast with graphics? Are you going to just broadcast your live show in real time? So whatever's happening is happening. Or are you going to try and do some kind of crazy editing and synchronization in real time, right? I want to talk about two extreme examples of hybrid events: self-production and paid production. And self-production is really where you set up a camera in the back of the room, you connect it to the internet, and you broadcast your event. And done like this, you are responsible for self-producing. Now, you could use your AV company to provide the camera, but you are not using them to do anything with your broadcast. In this format, you and your team are responsible for showing slides, playing videos, queuing transitions, managing the bids, and so forth. Now, you can do a show like this and send it to YouTube. This is a YouTube show on screen right here. You can send it to Vimeo, but those have a delay. YouTube, you can fine tune the lag between when something happens in the room and when people see it at home after being broadcast over the internet. You can get that delay down to as low as 2 to 4 seconds, but Vimeo is up to 40 seconds. And it's hard to enable bidding at home to compete with in-person attendees when it takes 40 seconds for the at-home crowd to hear what is happening in the room. For self-production, I'm a huge fan of single screen solutions. A single screen solution is a bidding platform that offers your entire show in one place on one screen. A portion of the screen is dedicated to the video stream of your live event. And there are also places on screen for bidding, for chat, fund and need pledging and results and all that sort of good stuff, all on the same screen. Often overlaid on the video. You can see the button to bid more, bid $6,000 on this auction lot, is overlaid on the video of this event. At its most basic, it lacks the production values of an AV produced show, but it also has tons of interactivity. Some platforms have chat built in for the whole show. Bidding platforms that will stream your show and make it easy to self-produce include ClickBid, Event.Gives, and Paybee. Whenever a client asks me to make a choice and name the platform I would recommend, I go with ClickBid. The bidding platform is easy to manage. What you're seeing right here is the auction, the live auction manager's productions. This is me managing a live auction on ClickBid. I set up a demo auction. I was able to get this all up and running within half an hour. It's incredibly easy to use, and it gives auctioneers, it gives your live auction the ability to take place in the room in real time, like you would expect it to if there were no one watching from home, and gives people at home the opportunity to bid against them. I can readily accommodate bidding in the room on paddles against bidders at home on computers with minimal delay or need for workarounds. Now, you could always go the extremely low production route and do it in Zoom or some other such platform. But if you're planning on doing the bidding in chat, you're going to have some interesting workarounds worked out in terms of a person who's managing the bidding on chat and relaying that information to the auctioneer in real time. You know, hey, you could make it work. If there's one thing we've learned in the past year is that we can make it work, right? If you already have a relationship or a contract with a bidding platform, we can make it work. We can find a workaround, right? Greater Giving, for example, is not currently built for hybrid events. There is no set way to advance bids in the program without actually submitting a bid on a bidder's behalf. And there is no easy way to change the bid increments on the fly. But we could come up with a workaround for Greater Giving. I've got a few in my head. There's one thing we've learned the past year: where there's a will, there's a way, right? And we could say the same for most bidding platforms. Now, paid production. You hire an AV or a production company to broadcast your in-person event with all the bells and whistles. You get graphics, lower thirds, videos, slideshows, etc., in conjunction with your in-person event. The AV company handles filming, editing, producing the show. You still need to come up with a plan for the bidding platform, right? And this is the more expensive but easier way to produce the show. I think if you're going to go with a professionally produced event, I still encourage you to utilize a single screen solution for the bidding at home because it focuses everything and makes the entire show more engaging and interactive. Either way, you have to have a plan for bidding, right? Whether you're doing self-production or paid production. Let's talk about some best practices for hybrid. You need to manage the expectations of both crowds. Let people know what to expect. I'm doing an event coming up soon. There is no online bidding on the live auction. If you want to bid on the live auction, you need to come to the event, or you need to submit a proxy bid. Which brings me to, you should create a system for proxy bidding. This was always a recommendation pre-pandemic, but even more so now with the potential for hybrid events. And it could be as simple as, I like transparency. I like communication. I like transparency. So if you have a proxy bids taking place, one, you have people submit them in advance. It can be as simple as they call your offices, they leave a credit card number over the phone, and they tell you which auction lots they're interested in and what their maximum bid is on any of those. And then you have somebody in the room at your event bidding on those people's behalf. And we just say, hey, Linda is our proxy bidder tonight. She's bidding on behalf of people who couldn't be here. It's because sometimes it looks really crazy when all of a sudden one of the employees, one of the staff or the NPO is bidding $20,000 on an auction lot. You're like, no, we haven't overpaid Linda. Linda is bidding on behalf of people who couldn't make it in today. You need to find a way to engage both audiences, and obviously, right? But find a way to enable the audiences to engage each other. If a crowd at home can bid on auction items, think about having a screen that shows those bids so that people in the room know, they can see when somebody's bidding against them, right? Same thing with the fund a need. And maybe you work it out so you're having the people at home creating a challenge grant. How much can we get people to pledge in our fund a need at home to create a challenge grant for the people in the room? Or maybe you're having some sort of game to see who bids on more. I mean, whatever it is, find a way for those two crowds. Don't be like, oh, well, you're in the room and you're at home. No, we're all here together to make something special happen. How can we make it empower both crowds? I highly recommend setting up a microphone to face your in-person crowd and enable them to be heard by the at-home crowd, right? Especially if you're using an AV company to handle all of your sound mixing before it gets out to be sent out to the internet. Then this way they can choose when to bring the in-person crowd mic up, because you don't want like people's dinner conversations getting broadcast, but you do want the crowd going, yeah, going wild. And the thing with microphones, like the microphone that I use for in-person events is so good that at a hybrid event recently, you could barely hear the crowd and when they were cheering in the background. And that was made me think like, oh, hey, it would be way better if we had a microphone set up. Set up a microphone, make the in-person crowd part of the live event, make it sound like a live event, right? All those, right? The best live concert albums from back in the day, all you can hear the crowd. It doesn't overwhelm the show, but you know that they're there and it makes it more special. Fine tune your run of show and commit to it. Get your in-person vendors 100% on board with your timeline and come up with a plan for what to do if things get delayed in person, right? You can't have, I can't tell you how many times I have had an auction back in the day of in-person events. I have had an auction stall and had to wait 20 minutes because the kitchen was behind and we didn't have the entrees out. Well, you can't have your broadcast delayed for 20 minutes because the kitchen is late, right? You need to come up with a plan on how you're going to handle this. You need to stick to this plan, and you need to get your vendors on board with the plan as well. This is an opportunity for you to update your event. Don't just do your previous in-person event because that is comfortable or what you know, right? If you were looking for if you felt like your in-person event was possibly getting a little tired before the pandemic set in, then take this opportunity to rethink it. You don't have to rethink it, right? Just getting back to being in the room is change enough right now. Getting able to see people is enough of a change. But if there were some changes that needed to be made, you felt like this is a perfect opportunity to update your event. It's also an opportunity to incorporate new fun elements, right? Add some games to your event. One of the things that we did, you can see this picture on the screen. This is from a virtual event for my son's school, and they had teacher karaoke. You made pledges on behalf of 3 different teachers, and whichever teacher got the most pledges, they performed karaoke live on stream. There's no reason you can't do stuff like this in person. It's fun. In fact, I think you need to utilize more entertainment in general. People are going to be really happy to be back in person, but they're also going to be expecting more. They're going to be expecting everybody's game to be a little upped. We have changed a lot. Be prepared to do everything differently. Break up the live auction. Pre-pandemic, I would have said, no, never, don't do it. But I'd be willing to experiment with it depending on why we're breaking it up and what we're putting it in, as long as, and always come back to this, as long as we are creating a narrative arc that ultimately leads people to wanting to give or spend more, right? I would never do the fund a need first pre-pandemic, but now it's a matter of course for virtual. Do we keep it? We're going to find out. We're going to be open to a lot of experimentation and change when we start getting back to doing not just hybrid, but in-person events in general. And finally, communicate with your crowd. Expectation management is so important. And I think sometimes we go into communications with crowds thinking like, oh my gosh, we do this and they're going to hate it, or we don't wonder. Find out, start having a conversation. Fundraising development is all about having a conversation that takes place over the course of the entire year, not just in the days, weeks, or month leading up to your event. Find out what they want. Talk with your staff and find out what they want, and then find a way to do the event that is going to be best for you. Thank you for joining. I appreciate the opportunity to share my expertise and perspective. Please feel free to reach out for any reason with any questions. We can be found at stellarsf.com. I will respond to questions in the comments as best as I can. And with that, thank you and have a good day.